Hey guys, it's me, Kelly. Today, I'm going to tell you about something that's kind of difficult for me to talk about. Um, and the reason it is difficult for me to talk about is I told a couple people that were really close to me and had some very, very bad reactions from this because the information that I gave them did not match their belief system made up by human beings. So there was a conflict between, I guess, reality and a belief system. So there was a conflict. So I was reluctant to tell you guys this because I didn't want what I told you not to match your belief system, and then you're no longer one of my fans. Okay, here goes. It was approximately 2 months ago. I had surgery to remove my two bottom wisdom teeth because they were impacted. That was on August the 20th. On August the 30th, I went in to see the doctor. I had dry sockets, so they had to pack them, took my packing out. It was a really, really hard day. I had several combinations of medications I was taking. The pain was just mind numbing. If you go to the hospital and they ask you, what is your pain level from 0 to 10? I would tell them 10,000. That's how bad it hurt. It was just awful. I hadn't eaten for 5 days. I couldn't hold anything down. It was just horrendous. So I got home, and long story short, I started to feel like I was passing out. The the nervous response that your body has for breathing, like if you should become unconscious or you're sleeping, your body basically breathes for you. That had stopped working because of the medications that I had taken. I was at home alone, and I had called my husband telling him this is how intelligent it came out of my mouth. This is how bad it was. I said, I am not okay. Something is very wrong with me. And I wanted to tell him I feel like I'm dying, but I thought he might think I'm being overly dramatic. So I just said, something is very wrong. I'm not okay. Come home now. I said, if I stop talking or if I ask you to call an ambulance, I am not okay. So he stayed on the phone with me. He was actually on his way home from work, and he was about 5 minutes away and got home. And once he walked in the door, I knew he would be doting over me, asking lots of questions. And so I told him when he came in the door, just don't say a word. Please just sit beside me on the couch and hold my hand. Because I had been struggling just to breathe this whole time. It took every ounce of energy I had inside of me just to keep breathing and stay alive during this time. When my husband got home, I just had this kind of sense of, okay, now I can relax, and whatever's going to happen is just going to happen. So he was holding my hand on the couch, and I started to breathe out, and I tried to breathe back in, and I just couldn't. I started to feel my body just systematically shutting down. Just my limbs and my torso, everything was shutting down on me. I couldn't move anything. My breathing had stopped, and I was very aware of that. And my husband started saying, Kelly, breathe, as he was holding my hand. And right at that moment, I was staring straight up in the middle of our living room. We've got cathedral ceilings. We've got very tall ceilings. I was staring up in the middle of the living room, and I started to see this dot appear in the middle of the living room. And you guys know I can see entities and other things. I'd never seen anything like this before. I didn't know what it was. But this dot appeared of light, and it started to get bigger and bigger. And then it became very huge. And the closest I can come to describing it, the light was alive. If you've ever had a television station that's gone to snow, like the station is out, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, you've got snow. That's kind of what this looked like. There was movement in it, and it was just this brilliant light. But it was huge, so big that you could drive a Volkswagen through it. And it just got bigger and bigger. And when the light got big enough, all of a sudden I popped out of my body. And when I popped out of my body, I was hearing my husband saying, "Kelli, breathe. Kelli, breathe." And I started to move towards this light. Like every fiber of my being was being pulled towards this light. But immediately I had pain relief. There was no pain. In fact, it was replaced by bliss. Just heavenly bliss is the only way I could describe it. And it was so bright, almost like you come into the house with your sunshades on, and it's like, oh, I can't see a thing, and you take your sunshades off. That's like living here on this earth is like having your sunshades on all the time. The light was as bright as 1,000 suns, but it did not burn my eyes. And I felt this overwhelming sense of love and acceptance that I have never ever felt on this earth, that it is absolutely not possible to feel on this earth. This level of love. It's just filled everything. And there was this warmth. It was not a temperature, just this warmth that just enveloped me in the kind of love you've always been longing for your whole life was there. And I started to, as I was being pulled, almost like a fly that's flying and you like suck it up into a vacuum cleaner. That's what this was doing. And it was not my body. My body was behind me down there with my husband. His voice was starting to fade as he kept saying, "Kelli, breathe." And I was being pulled just towards this light, everything inside of me. I started to forget this earth and this world. It started to just kind of fade, my experience. And I realized who I was and what I was and why I was here on this earth and what I was here to do. I had access to all knowledge of the universe. It was right there. I knew everything. And I was being pulled towards this light. And there appeared an entity just to my right, of this big, huge light or tunnel, vortex. I called it a black hole, and people are like, "It's black? That's not a light." It's like, no, black holes are not black. So I started describing it as a light and a tunnel because people just didn't understand what black hole meant. But this entity appeared to the side of this big, huge opening that was light and love. And this entity was a blue being, a blue energy being. You could not make out clothing or hair or fingers, anything like that. It's as if you had a human being and you had 3 inches or 4 inches of energy surrounding that person. So there was this light being that was blue. It did have eyes in it. The eyes were white. And it was just this gorgeous color of blue that my aura is most of the time. And this entity had the most beautiful, perfect voice that said, it was motioning with his hands, like Vanna White, "Come this way, come to me. This is the way to go." And it just kept repeating. It was a male voice. It was the most beautiful, perfect voice I've ever heard. The voice was love. And it felt so familiar. And it was calling me, "Come this way, this is the way to go. Come over here, come to me, this is the way to go." And it never stopped. From the moment I popped out of my body, it started beckoning me to come towards the tunnel. And at that moment, I realized I'm going home. I'm going back home. And I was elated. This earth was just a distant memory. I couldn't even remember having a husband or children or anything. All of that was just gone, because this is just not really real. Oh, I'll get into that later. But so I was being drawn towards this light, and I was being pulled and pulled and pulled, and I was almost to the light. And basically what it felt like was waking up. Like this existence here on this earth was just a dream that I had had, and I was waking up, and I was more alive and alert than I've ever been in my life. And I was almost to the entrance of this tunnel when the blue light entity said, you know, come this way. It's your time to go. And once, I'm calling it a he, I don't know if it really had a gender, it was a male voice. Um, but once he said, it's your time to go, something that was kind of automatic inside of me just kind of clicked. And I said, no, it's not my time to go. I have to go back. And once I said that, I started coming back down towards my body, backwards towards my body. I was seeing the entity just standing there looking at me. It was no longer beckoning me, it was just watching me. And the tunnel was still there the whole time, and I was coming back to my body. And I started to hear my husband again. My husband was saying, Kelli, breathe, Kelli, breathe. I heard some panic in his voice this time. And I was looking down, not with the eyes of my body, but my eyes. I was looking down, and I saw that my husband had my hand up. He was checking my pulse, see if I had a pulse. And he just kept saying, Kelli, breathe, Kelli, breathe. And then all of a sudden, I just popped back into my body, and it was like a freight train had hit me. I felt like I weighed 1,000 pounds. The pain that I left behind was back, and I was so heavy, and it just, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible when I came back, and I was so distracted by the pain and being on the medications and all that it was about a week when I started getting off of the pain medications and started to get a clear mind that I had actually remembered what had happened to me, and I didn't know what had happened. So I went to Google and I started Googling all these keywords, this light, vortex, you know, this beckoning, and everything kept coming up, near-death experience. And that's when I realized I had died and I came back. And this has absolutely changed my life forever. Once you know who you are and what you are and why you're here, it just brings new meaning to your life here in this experience. This is just one of, I'd say, trillions of experiences that your spirit has in its evolution, in its growth, and its maturity. So this, however long I end up staying on this earth, 70, 80 years, however long, to your spirit is just a blink of an eye and an experience. So although I did not go into the tunnel like a lot of the other ones did, I still had access fully to all the knowledge. Since I came back, there is kind of a filter on some things I'm not really allowed to know now that I'm back. But I had the reassurance that it was okay. The things that I was so concerned about were okay. So that was my near-death experience, and now that I've told you, I guess I will reference it in future videos, because that's just kind of the short version, and I will tell you all the things that have completely changed in this life, and the things that I'm having to get used to as a human again, things you don't even think about. Once you're absolutely weightless, you have no weight, and you can just think yourself anywhere. What you think is. And coming back to this earth with all its restrictions and gravity and hot and cold, and you can't think things into existence. You have to actually make them with your hands. I've had a hard transition this past 2 months, so please forgive me for not getting back to you guys on all your emails. I've been trying to deal with being human again for a while. So that is my near-death experience, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment and let me know what you think about it. If you had one too, please put it in the comments, or write me personally if you don't want anybody to know about it. So I will see you guys on the next video, and thank you for listening. I really appreciate that. I hope that this has touched you in some way and has helped you in your life. So see you on the next video. Bye.